Okay, let's go ahead and start then.
All right, let's go ahead and start. Hey, hello everyone. How you guys doing? We're gonna learn a little bit about this Narcan business and maybe save a life. I hope all of you guys were able to access the Good Samaritan law. Did you guys get a copy of that? Did everyone get a copy of that? I would like to start off the training basically talking about that because a lot of times, out in shooting galleries or in bad places, the first responders are going to be people who are getting high with one another. So what we want them to do is not be afraid of getting 911 or the police involved because they shooting up with the guy or girl, or they may possess drugs and stuff like that. So one of the primary things that trainers should try to do with clients is to help inform them that, hey, listen, somebody OD and they with you, don't be afraid to call the cops because, I know a lot of folks who have, taken people and put them up on the roof, put them in different places or different locations other than, where they were shooting up at, and the person actually dies as a result of it because people panic. So it's a couple of ways of looking at how these kinds of scenarios can take place. So in the context of what we do as counselors, we may have someone walk in, our old client, an existing client, or whatever the case may be, and that person is under the influence of opiates and sit down in our chair and we may think that they are falling off to sleep. But in actuality, they may be in crises and experiencing an overdose. But let me take it back to the Good Samaritan law. The Good Samaritan law is really a biblical principle. The Good Samaritan who came by and did a good deed. Well, all good deeds sometimes don't go unpunished because in this country, we used to take individuals and lock them up when they reported that, hey, this person was with me, we were shooting up, and, that turned into put your hands behind your back and handcuffs being brought out. So people felt that it was time to codify, what a Good Samaritan should actually experience when they save someone's life. So what they did was they came up with the Good Samaritan law. You guys can read it in detail. I'm gonna give you the straight up version of it. So what it does is it protects people from incarceration, except in situations where the person may be a parolee, have an outstanding parole warrant, or some type of criminal justice issue hanging over their heads, and they've basically been running from the law. So in that kind of circumstance, you're probably going to get handcuffs placed on you. But if you're in a situation where you and the person is getting high and person just came home from rehab and didn't realize that their tolerance level was not what it was prior to going into rehab, they was doing 10 bags of dope a day, and now they get out, get one bag of dope and it's got fentanyl in it. Next thing you know, the receptor sites can't handle the opiates that's being bombarded or falling onto their receptor sites in a way to where, their system is overloaded and they go into overdose. So the Good Samaritan law, if someone was to call 911 and actually wait there for them to show up and they are with the person trying to revive them, or the person is actually dead, they won't be prosecuted. So that's basically what the Good Samaritan law means in a nutshell. I wanted to show you guys a couple of things, a couple of clips. They really short clips that shows you the process on how a person could overdose and what the opiates actually does, because a lot of folks will like questions about opiates. What if a person overdose on crack? Or what if a person overdose on something other than opioids? Will Narcan work? Narcan only works on opioids. It only works on heroin or opioids. So I don't care how much you put in the person's system, it won't hurt them, but it would only be effective on a person who has had a overdose on the opioid. So I'm gonna share my screen with you guys, and we're going to look at, let me see, a Narcan video. It's about 7 minutes. So this is the one I want to share with you all.
One who takes prescription opioids like Percocet or Oxycontin, or illegal.
Can you guys hear that? All right, let me start it from the beginning.
Opioids like Percocet or Oxycontin, or illegal opioids like heroin, then you should know about the risk of an accidental, life-threatening opioid overdose. In fact, over 56% of overdoses happen in private homes beyond the immediate reach of doctors and nurses. There's a way for you to help someone who is experiencing an opioid overdose, even if you don't have specialized medical training. In this video are instructions for use, as well as the uses and safety information you should know for using Narcan. But first, it's important to be able to recognize the signs of an overdose. Signs of an opioid overdose include not waking up or responding to your voice or touch, breathing that is very slow, irregular, or has even stopped. The dark center part of the eyes becomes very small, sometimes called pinpoint pupils. Fingernails and lips turn blue or purple. A slow heartbeat, weak pulse, or low blood pressure. If someone has these signs, here's how you can help. Narcan nasal spray is a medicine that reverses the effects of an opioid overdose. Narcan nasal spray is not a substitute for emergency medical care. Repeated doses may be necessary. As with any drug, you need to be aware of important safety information about its use. Please pay particular attention to the indications and important safety information at the end of this video. Also, please see the accompanying full prescribing information in the use of this product. Narcan nasal spray was designed for use wherever an emergency opioid overdose happens. Because it doesn't require specialized medical training, it can be given to someone by following these instructions. First, lay the person on their back. Then remove the device from the box and peel back the package. Hold the device with your thumb on the bottom of the plunger and 2 fingers on either side of the nozzle. Tilt the person's head back and provide support under their neck with your hand. Place and hold the tip of the nozzle in one nostril until your fingers touch the bottom of their nose. Press the plunger firmly to give the dose into the person's nose. After giving the dose, remove the device from the person's nostril and move them on their side, positioning their hands under their head. Call 911 and get emergency medical help right away after giving the first dose of Narcan nasal spray, even if the person wakes up. Narcan is not a substitute for emergency medical care. Keep the person under observation. If the person doesn't respond by waking up to voice or touch or breathing normally after 2 to 3 minutes, administer the second dose provided in the box in the alternate nostril. If they respond and the signs of an opioid emergency have returned after Narcan nasal spray is given, then give another dose in the alternate nostril using a new device and watch them closely until emergency help is received. Additional doses may be given every 2 to 3 minutes until they respond or emergency medical help is received. After using Narcan nasal spray, put the device in its box and then dispose in a place safe from children. Narcan nasal spray delivers a consistent, concentrated 4 milligram dose of naloxone that can reverse the effects of a life-threatening opioid overdose in minutes. Visit Narcan.com to learn more. There's a way for you to help someone who is experiencing an opioid overdose, even if you don't have specialized medical training. Indications and important safety information. What is Narcan nasal spray? Narcan nasal spray is a prescription medicine used for the treatment of an opioid emergency, such as an overdose or a possible opioid overdose with signs of breathing problems and severe sleepiness or not being able to respond. Narcan nasal spray is to be given right away and does not take the place of emergency medical care. Get emergency medical help right away after giving the first dose of Narcan nasal spray, even if the person wakes up. Narcan nasal spray is safe and effective in children for known or suspected opioid overdose. What is the most important information I should know about Narcan nasal spray? Narcan nasal spray is used to temporarily reverse the effects of opioid medicines. The medicine in Narcan nasal spray has no effect in people who are not taking opioid medicines. Always carry Narcan nasal spray with you in case of an opioid emergency. Use Narcan nasal spray right away if you or your caregiver think signs or symptoms of an opioid emergency are present, even if you are not sure, because an opioid emergency can cause severe injury or death. Signs and symptoms of an opioid emergency may include unusual sleepiness, and you are not able to awaken the person with a loud voice or by rubbing firmly on the middle of their chest, breathing problems, including slow or shallow breathing and someone difficult to awaken or who looks like they are not breathing. The black circle in the center of the colored part of the eye is very small, sometimes called pinpoint pupils, and someone difficult to awaken. Family members, caregivers, or other people who may have to use Narcan nasal spray in an opioid emergency should know where Narcan nasal spray is stored and how to give Narcan nasal spray before an opioid emergency happens. Get emergency medical help right away after giving the first dose of Narcan nasal spray. Rescue breathing, or CPR, may be given while waiting for emergency medical help. The signs and symptoms of an opioid emergency can return after Narcan nasal spray is given. If this happens, give another dose after 2 to 3 minutes using a new Narcan nasal spray and watch the person until emergency help is received. Who should not use Narcan nasal spray? Do not use Narcan nasal spray if you are allergic to naloxone hydrochloride or any of the ingredients in Narcan nasal spray. What should I tell my healthcare provider before using Narcan nasal spray? Before using Narcan nasal spray, tell your healthcare provider about all of your medical conditions, including if you have heart problems, are pregnant or plan to become pregnant. Use of Narcan nasal spray may cause withdrawal symptoms in your unborn baby. Your unborn baby should be examined by a healthcare provider right away after you use Narcan nasal spray. Are breastfeeding or plan to breastfeed? It is not known if Narcan nasal spray passes into your breast milk. Tell your healthcare provider about the medicines you take, including prescription and over-the-counter medicines, vitamins, and herbal supplements. What are the possible side effects of Narcan nasal spray? Narcan nasal spray may cause serious side effects, including sudden opioid withdrawal symptoms. In someone who has been using opioids regularly, opioid withdrawal symptoms can happen suddenly after receiving Narcan nasal spray and may include body aches, diarrhea, increased heart rate, fever, runny nose, sneezing, goosebumps, sweating, nausea or vomiting, nervousness, restlessness or irritability, shivering or trembling, stomach cramping, weakness, increased blood pressure. In infants under 4 weeks old who have been receiving opioids regularly, sudden opioid withdrawal may be life-threatening if not treated the right way. Signs and symptoms include seizures, crying more than usual, and increased reflexes. These are not all of the possible side effects of Narcan nasal spray. Call your doctor for medical advice about side effects. The risk information provided here is not comprehensive. To learn more, talk about Narcan nasal spray with your healthcare provider or pharmacist. The FDA-approved product labeling can be found at www.narcan.com/pdf/narcan-prescribing-information.pdf or 1-844-4-NARCAN. You are encouraged to report negative side effects of prescription drugs to the FDA. Visit www.fda.gov/medwatch or call 1-800-FDA-1088. Please see full prescribing information, including the patient information for Narcan nasal spray.
So I'm gonna stop sharing here, and I want you guys to, that's a lot of information to process, but I want to really give you the signs and symptoms. I don't know how many of you guys have ever
Narcan nasal spray
been
is
in
not a
a
substitute.
position to use Narcan, but I have. In 2016, I was the director of a residential treatment program on the Lower East Side. So we would allow alumni to come back into the program, as an example of them doing well, them, doing what they do out there on the sidewalk. So one young man came up in the facility. It was Education Alliance. And he was allowed to sit on the couch in the front area where, people come in and out the doors and, chit chat with folks, but he fell asleep. And one of the clients just happened to be a nurse. And someone came to me and said, Thurman, so-and-so is not breathing right. I said, what do you mean he's not breathing right? So the person who was a nurse, she said, he's gurgling. It doesn't sound like he's snoring. It sounds like he's having respiratory issues. So when I went, I'm like, hey, so-and-so, he wouldn't respond. So what I did was I took my knuckles like this and you rub it in a person's chest. Normally that gets a person's attention when you really press on their sternum like that with your knuckles. He didn't respond to it. So what we tried to do was we lift him. He was sitting down, so we wanted his head to tilt back so his air passages can get some air, because when people are in that state of overdose, they are slumped down and there's like a compression taking place with their respiratory system. So we got the Narcan out and I took one of these little bottles, peeled it back like they said, went through all the motions, and I sprayed it in one of his nostrils. That boy didn't respond. I said, oh my God. Most people panic, and I certainly did, because it didn't work. This dude's gonna be dead. So I said, give me another one. So when they gave me the second one and I sprayed it in his nostrils, it was like he jumped into life. And when he came to, oh my goodness, he had all kind of withdrawal symptoms. He was mad, upset. So we had called the police, and we had called the ambulance and stuff like that. So dude was panicking. I said, listen, man, you're not going to jail. So he's like, no, I didn't have no heroin. I wasn't doing this. I haven't, we can just cut through all that. What we're trying to do is save your life, and we ain't got the 90 minutes, because the effect of Narcan wears off in 90 minutes. And whatever drugs that he was using will begin to pop back down on the receptor sites in his mind, and he would overdose again. So this ain't nothing to really be playing with, and we're trying to help him to understand that, even though all he wants to do is run and go get high, because he's experiencing withdrawal. So the police, came and all the rest of that. He was able to go to the ambulance and stuff like that. But what the experience taught me was that panic is your worst enemy. If you have a situation where, this is the first time that you're doing something, of course, it's sort of like, oh my God, this is an enormous situation. You have a person's life in your hands. So under that kind of pressure, sometimes people will really, really just, panic. Don't panic, because this person has nobody else but you to bring them back to the living. So I don't care if it takes 2 or 3 Narcan sprays, you keep spraying it. But remember that a person, after 4 minutes, a person's can get brain damage. So you want to, if the person isn't breathing on their own, you want to help them try to breathe. So when your Narcan kits, you will have plastic that has a hole in it and stuff like that. You would want to, tilt the person's head back in the way that their air passage is. There you go. You ready for mouth to mouth. And with the plastic in between, you give the person some oxygen, the breath of life. You know what I mean? And you bring that person back. I don't have no plastic. That's why I'm not doing this great demonstration, but you get it. So put the plastic over the person's mouth, bend their neck up a little bit so their passage is open, and just give them some air, because that way, you can sort of like help them. And if they are not really responding, get into the 1,000, 2, 1,000, pressing on their chest. I'll go up to 10, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000. Get the person some air. Get the pumping on their heart again. You understand me? If you got another Narcan spray, hit them one more time. Because this may make the difference between life and death for that person. Because while the ambulance is way down the street somewhere, we need somebody to really to be working on this person, because if they don't get no oxygen, they're going to be brain dead. If they don't, if you don't try to help start their heart, we're going to have some problems there. So we're going to become like medics. But what I do is I try to spend a lot of my time talking to people who are going to be getting high with people. The likelihood of someone coming in our office is rare, sitting down in that chair and overdosing, but they do. because one came in the facility and he had overdosed. So it does happen. But what I would like to do also is to make sure that every client that I can possibly come into contact with, give them a Narcan thing, because they're gonna get to the person who's OD before any of us, or the police or the ambulance. These are the people that need to have it. You know, so when we set up our systems and we're doing, you know, off-site services and stuff like that, we need to give out Narcan. So you guys got any questions? Because I ain't gonna hold you hostage. Come on, y'all got this. Y'all ready to go out and save a life? I know what I just gave you out of the last 20 minutes didn't encourage you or didn't give you that kind of confidence.
You got some questions in the chat.
Okay, I wasn't even looking at the chat. I'm a verbal guy.
So I can read to you, is the agency going to provide CPR certification? Because you cannot provide CPR without being certified, and I am not.
Okay, person who gave up that question, I would say, I would give it to you like this, and I'm just gonna keep it thorough with you. Anybody that's dying in my presence, I'm giving them CPR, whether I'm certified or not.
This is where that Good Samaritan law comes into place. You're making a good attempt, and you know, if you're not fully certified, it's, you know, it's either that, an attempt, or absolutely nothing. So,
Yeah, so don't let legal processes paralyze you. You know, so I understand, you know, the certification process and all the rest of that, but guess what? I'm going to place my knuckles and my fingers across your chest if you're in overdose crises, and I'm gonna go 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, and if you come up out of it, you're gonna be happy. If you don't come up out of it, rest in peace. We did everything we could do to bring you back, but you know what? It's time for you to move on.
Jillian also says if you're interested that you can pay like $20 to $30 on the Red Cross website and complete the online training for CPR. So that's another option. Carol was asking, is it safe to administer Narcan if we are unsure if someone is allergic to naloxone?
If a person is in overdose, whether they're allergic or not, use the naloxone. Whatever they're allergic to, if they bust out in hives later on, at least they're alive. Do you get the distinction? All I'm saying is that don't let uncertainty about a person's medical history. I understand all of the stuff that we just heard. I get that. But if a person is suffering and having overdose from opiates, use the stuff, because this is the only thing that's going to bring that person back. We can deal with the allergies and, you know, what they're allergic to later on. At least they're going to be breathing.
All right, I have a question, and it may have been answered during the video. I got on late because I called in the wrong number. When you administer the Narcan for the first time and you don't get a response and you said you could do it again, does it matter if you do it in the same nostril, or are you supposed to switch up, or does it matter?
Switch up, because the mucous membrane in the nose is very thin. So if you don't put Narcan in the first nostril, the left nostril, you know, it still may be absorbing that naloxone. But if it didn't respond to it, let's at least have a new, you know, nostril to put it in. So that way it's coming on both sides of the person's head and it's reaching its, you know, purpose. So we'll go to the next nose. And go to the next nose and go to the next nose. I mean, the next nostril, until hopefully the person regains consciousness.
Okay.
Okay, I have a couple of additional questions here. Jonathan is still asking, are you covered doing CPR without certification? He was told that he was not covered by his last certification trainer. So Jonathan, if you want to talk about this more after, we can. But I know people have 2 o'clock appointments, so I'm gonna table that. And then Renee is asking, if we come in contact with anyone who's overdosed or on something other than opioids, what's the process? Do we just call EMS and do CPR?
Well, that's what I would do, because if the person is overdosed on something besides an opioid, which naloxone will not work on, then it would be the same as pulling someone from the sea or from a bed of water who done overdose. You want to try to get them breathing again. So if you do have some knowledge of CPR, apply what you know and worry about the rest later on.
Okay, last question. So where is the Narcan on the 3rd floor? And also, how many uses can you get out of each spray? So I'm going to answer those conjunctively. So these are our Narcan kits. On the 256 location, they are going to be in the copy room on top of the large filing cabinet. In each box, or each little bag here, there will be at least one container of Narcan. There are 2 ways to look for the instructions. The first is if you open the little container of Narcan, it's not a fully open, it's just like a part of the box. Also, I have included a full how do you do this much larger. Also, a pair of gloves, and here's your rescue mask. So all of these things are going to be in the little kit, which is at 256 on the large filing cabinet in the copy room. There's going to be another place at NRC that they will be held, and then for school-based clinicians, probably in your offices. So each of you will, figure out what location it is. Because we want to give them out to clients also, I don't know that we have enough for every single staff member's area to have one. So at least they're centrally located everywhere, in each location.
And I'm going to order, they give us 48, I think every couple of weeks. So every couple of weeks they come in, I'm going to order them.
Well, I think that that's great. So then I could put 2 kits in each of them because, as we say, one doesn't always work, and it would be really great to be able to have, 2 in each kit. So.
And to make this particular training really comprehensive, I want to show you guys one more 4-minute and 41-second video, and I think that would be it, if that's okay.
I don't know if we have time.
We have time?
Don't think so. People mostly have 2 o'clocks. Does everybody have 2 o'clocks?
Okay,
Yeah.
well, folks who have 2 o'clock, you jump off. Folks who don't, hang in there. So let's see this, because I want
Nasal spray is an emergency treatment for a known or suspected opioid overdose. Narcan nasal spray is not a substitute for emergency medical care. As with any drug, you need to be aware of important safety information concerning its use. If you encounter someone who is unresponsive and you suspect an overdose, first shake their shoulders and shout their name.
Kevin.
Ask if he or she is okay.
Hey, Kevin, can you hear me?
Check for signs of an overdose. Seek emergency help right away. Narcan nasal spray is not a substitute for emergency medical care.
I'm with somebody who stopped breathing. I think they've had an overdose.
Administer Narcan nasal spray as quickly as possible if someone is unresponsive and an opioid overdose is suspected, even when in doubt, because prolonged respiratory depression may result in damage to the central nervous system. Lay the person on their back to receive a dose of Narcan nasal spray. Remove Narcan nasal spray from the box. Peel back the tab with the circle to open it. Remove and review the printed quick start guide inside the package. Hold the Narcan nasal spray with your thumb on the bottom of the plunger and your first and middle fingers on either side of the nozzle. Do not press the plunger to test or prime the device. If you do, you will waste all or part of the dose of medication. Tilt the person's head back and provide support under the neck with your hand. Gently insert the tip of the nozzle into one nostril until your fingers on either side of the nozzle are against the person's nose. Press the plunger firmly to give the full dose of Narcan nasal spray. Remove the device from the nostril after giving the dose. Move the person on their side after giving Narcan nasal spray. If possible, put their hands under their head and bend their upper leg forward. This helps prevent the person from rolling onto their stomach. This is known as the recovery position. Continue to watch the person closely. If they do not wake up or respond to your voice or touch, or if they do not seem to be breathing normally within 2 to 3 minutes, use a new Narcan nasal spray to give an additional dose in the other nostril. Acute opiate withdrawal symptoms may occur from use of Narcan nasal spray in patients who are opioid dependent. Symptoms include body aches, diarrhea, increased heart rate or tachycardia, fever, runny nose, sneezing, goosebumps, also known as piloerection, sweating, yawning, nausea or vomiting, nervousness, restlessness or irritability, shivering or trembling, abdominal cramps, weakness, and increased blood pressure. When the emergency is over, put the Narcan nasal spray back in its box and throw it away in a place that is away from the reach of children. In addition to watching this video, please read the quick start guide that comes with Narcan nasal spray before using it. Talk to a healthcare professional if you have any questions about how to administer Narcan nasal spray. Please read the indications and important safety information that follows. Store Narcan nasal spray at room temperature between 15 to 25 degrees centigrade. Do not freeze Narcan nasal spray. Keep Narcan nasal spray in the box until ready to use. Protect from light. Replace Narcan nasal spray before the expiration date on the box. Keep Narcan nasal spray and all medicines out of the reach of children.
Yeah, I wanted y'all to see that part where they put it in the nose, the 2 fingerprints, because I think that that is really instructive in how to use Narcan. So I will prepare you guys cards. I will give them to Ms. Hatfield, and she will, in return, give me the forms that you guys filled out. You guys was great. You're going to be ready if unfortunately it ever happens. But you are going to be able to save someone from themselves. And that's what's wonderful about Narcan training. So thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Brad, for doing this for all of us. And everybody, please send me your training enrollment form so that I can get you the blue cards completed. So if I get everything in the next like 2 or 3 days, then I will make sure that on Friday that they are going out to various places. I am gonna be, okay, well, either, Friday or Monday, something like that. So as soon as we can get the cards back to you, but first I need the enrollment forms. So email them to me. You can fax them. You can drop them in my mailbox. Any way it is that you want to get them to me, that would be great. Thanks so very much, everybody. Take care. Have a good afternoon.
Guys, have a great day.